Welcome back. Another edition of Down and Back at CornDoug. As you can see, we have, I will call it the brains of the Big Asp show, the brains of the new hard drag push, Mr. Sean Asp. How you doing, Sean?
CornDoug, man, thanks for having me again. It's been a
Well,
while.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you were back on. I think you were almost like a couple shows into the your Big Asp show last time. Well, the first time you were on,
Yeah,
and then we kind of did the couple hour live shows with those other two guys that were
with
just
the
kind of
with the Yahoos, I guess we'll call them.
went off the rails real quick on those ones.
Yeah, So thanks for having me on, man. It's been a while. Obviously, I'm still a big fan of your show. I tune in whenever I can, and it's definitely it's weird, right? Because because you started a little bit before us, right?
Yep.
And it's time's kind of flying by. We're almost 2 years in now.
Well, exactly. Yeah, like I'm like uh kind of middle September. I'm almost 2 years here, and it's like
That's
I can't I couldn't I didn't think I was gonna last three shows, and now I'm like
oh
I'm way too deep.
crazy, man. Like we joked on our very first episode that we were like, hey, if 10 people listen to this, what I mean, we'll be thrilled. And now look at us that we're coming up on. We're hoping like the next two episodes we should be able to get over 100,000 downloads. So it's kind of a little milestone that we're hoping to shoot for and hit here soon. So I'm excited. But thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited. Let's talk some cornhole.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So we kind of talked a bit off air, but we finally, after what 19 months, we had our first big tournament here finally, and pretty good. It was up in Simcoe County Cornhole Championship. So Moondog Cornhole had him on the show a couple weeks ago, but it was great. It was almost 150 players
Okay. Wow.
with 50 teams. It was a great. We had like a fun division, which I got to play, and I did well. I went 5-0 in the fun division.
There you go.
Then when it came to the competitive division, I went 5-0 in the fun division. That's all we'll talk about. But but yeah, and it was just it was different.
Yeah.
Playing, because I don't know if you've seen that or had that feeling going from playing in your league or just kind of
Yep.
the virtual stuff to actually, because the league is fun, and then you go to a tournament and it's like, oh crap, I got like there's the nerves kick in because there's more pressure in the tournament. It was just an eerie feeling.
When we first started getting involved in it, we were playing in this weekly league, and that's kind of how we really took off. League was more of an excuse to get out of the house once a week, hang out with my brother, and then we were basically placed in different divisions. Well, in our division, it was almost like a round robin every week. So by that second, third week, you kind of knew the other teams. You know what I mean? We all kind of get buddy buddy. So it was a very relaxed environment. And then when we were really seriously playing, yeah, I would do the same thing. I get the nerves. I get the night before, I could barely sleep. You get there, you get real nervous. Now it's to the point where I don't play that often. So when I get to go to a regional, it's more of like, to me, it's more of like that social event. So I don't really get nervous. And now maybe it's just because I've had more experience playing, or I don't. Maybe it's because I don't put as much pressure on myself because I don't care how I do anymore. Before, I used to think like, maybe I could go pro, and then I realized like I'm never going to be that good.
No,
So I stopped putting that much pressure, and I think that's a big part of it too.
well, I think that's because coming out of once we can start playing cornhole here with COVID, um, we had like 10 new people out right away, and it was fantastic because those 10 new people, they're probably going to watch this, and they'll even say that they're not very good, but they laugh and they have fun, and it made everyone else have fun except for the couple of people that we have in our league that sit in the mirror and practice their number one finger up, but still, it's just it was having fun, and that was the thing. I had like 4 weeks of fun. Then all of a sudden I'm like in this tournament situation where there's like bigger money on the line, and it's like, oh crap. It was just a weird feeling.
Did you get to play singles and doubles?
Yes, yeah, yeah. So there was.
Would you have a preference on what do you prefer to do? Are you a lone wolf? You prefer to play singles, or do you like the team aspect?
I'm a fat guy that's out of shape. I want doubles all the time, so I'm not walking.
Amen, brother. Amen.
The walking sucks.
For me, it's weird because for the longest time, I mean, I have a wife and two kids, right? So when I get to go to these regional tournaments here, there's so many teams that I mean, you're there 6 to 8 hours if you're going to play singles and doubles. So most of the time, our doubles events would be first, and they'd be right in the morning. So I could go play doubles. So it was a long time before I ever got to play a singles event. More recently now, when I've actually kind of preferred playing singles. I think it's just because I get to throw more bags. You know what I mean? And when we went to the ACL Open in Erie, that was probably the biggest tournament it was the biggest tournament I've ever played in. And I actually did really well. I think I ended up taking second or third in my bracket overall in singles. It was finally that performance I've been waiting for. Um, but doubles, it still has that fun dynamic though. And it's hard though, because me and my brother, 99% of the time we play together. We're not great partners together. And we've admitted that before, because I think we're almost too comfortable with each other, and I don't feel bad about yelling at him if he's doing something stupid. But yeah, it's just, I always find it interesting finding out if people like the singles or the doubles dynamic.
Well, I think maybe the reason why I have the issue with singles is because it's always at the end of the tournament, the end of the day. So I'm already tired anyway, and then now you got to make me walk.
Yep.
Right. So it's like, that's my big issue with it.
Well, don't you think it's impressive too when you have like these big national tournaments for like ACL and stuff, when they're long days? You know what I mean?
Oh.
And these guys they're gauntlets. I mean, by the time they're making it to the finals or bracket finals, I mean, sometimes these guys have played 8, 9, 10 games. I mean, that's a long day. And I think that, again, that shows that there is, people joke it's like that it's a sport, but there is some sort of an endurance factor involved in it.
Well, I think that's where, if you look at most of the top players, if you look back at it, like Ryan Smith, a football player, Christine Papke, when she was on top, she's a marathon runner.
Yep.
So it's like almost a lot of these top players have some sort of high sporting background. So they're kind of, they can get that mental, like, even
I completely agree.
Even talking with Bernasette, right? Yeah. He was a football player as well too. So they, like, in talking with them, they get that, go back to those 2-a-days that they can just kind of go back to that and then just kick our asses.
Well, physical and mental side of it too, right? Yeah. I mean, there's also obviously the mental grind you have to kind of put yourself in, and I think that's a lot of times is what separates the pros from like average throwers like us, is that they're able to put themselves into that place and lock in, where I might have that for like maybe a few rounds, but then I'm going to see somebody walk by, or I'm going to like, oh, I need another beer kind of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's a mental drain, and it's also physical as well.
Exactly, yeah. So you touched on the partners thing with you and Dane, and I know my partner and I, we've kind of been partners now for, almost 5 years that KW's been around. So, and then looking at the ACL finals this year, you've got Dennis and Hayden winning the singles doubles.
Yep.
Senior double. The women's was Streaker and Samantha. I just almost drew a blank on her name.
Yeah, Finley.
And then, yep. And then Kamba and Baldwin. So those are three teams that have been around together. Now, I had a conversation at a term on the weekend. I was like, do you think that the being together longer, you kind of get that comfort? I know for me, I have that comfort knowing I know what my partner's going to do. They know what I'm going to do. I can kind of work better, or because sometimes those super teams, you don't see them working out all the time.
I think it comes to the individual's personality. And actually, this past week, we had newly announced partners, Matthew Stout and Jay Corley. Yeah. They've never played a doubles tournament together, but they have become best friends over the year. So they feel that friendship in their personalities is going to work well together. You could take, but the perfect example is from this year. People who want best of friends, but they look at it as like a business, Jamie Graham, Matt Guy. And they've even said, like, listen, I'm going to play my game. He's going to play his game. If I want input, I'll take my headphone out. I'll ask him input. But there's minimal interaction. I think it really just comes down to mindset, what you want to get out of it, and your own personality. Are you somebody that needs someone across the board from you that's going to be like a rah-rah guy? If that's the case, then yeah, you probably want to get along with them. But if you're okay, if you're more that player where you don't want anybody to talk to you, you want to lock in, and then I don't think you necessarily have to be friends. You just want somebody across the board that's going to hold up their end of the bargain.
Mm-hmm. My other thing is looking at that, if I'm kind of thinking about a shot, that partner with the familiarity is going to know that he's going to try and make me, I can't throw an airmail that good. So my regular partner knows that my push shot is a lot better. So he'll try and get me to do that push shot to try and help that through. Where if that's what I'm thinking, if that familiarity may not be there with just kind of like the the hired guns that are together, right? So it's
I
kind
agree.
of like a double-edged sword.
I think you too. I think sometimes when you're at that level though, and these guys get so consistent, they should kind of have a pretty good idea of what they're most comfortable with. Like you hear a lot of times in these pros, right? They'll take their earphone out, they'll ask their partner, what does the partner say? It's like, go with what you feel comfortable with. Like, this is what I'm seeing, but ultimately, don't listen to me. Do what was your first instinct? If your first instinct was a slide or a push shot, go for it. If you want to go up for it, go up for it. I think the one that surprised me the most was a team that also made it very far. They lost in the finals. Was Frank Maudlin and Tyler Poitras. I heard through the grapevine that, obviously Tyler's retired now, so this is not going to cause controversy. But I did hear that over the season there was not necessarily friction, but some frustration on Tyler's end, just because Frank, not that he lacked confidence in Tyler's ability, but Frank tends to be a pretty conservative player and would have Tyler lay up more than maybe what Tyler wanted to. But so it was interesting in the finals, or actually in the semifinals, there's a few times where he said, hey, go ahead, lay up. I was happy that Tyler went for it at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm watching it, I'm like, worst case scenario, you give up one. Right? I'm like, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, you don't lay up. You don't lay this up. You go for it. And so I was happy he kind of went with what was most comfortable. But I think that's a big part of it, too. If you're going to play doubles with somebody that you're comfortable with and you trust, then are you actually going to be okay with if they tell you, lay up? Or are you going to be like, I was really just asking you out of formality. You know what I mean? I kind of just going to do what I want to do.
Well, yeah. That was the other thing too, with those two guys, especially, is because they've known each other for so long as well too. So there was that familiarity. But I thought, I was really happy that they did make that final was Baldwin, Kamba against Maudlin and Tyler, because it was just, all four of them are all friends. I think they're all poker buddies, and Kamba did talk about taking Poitras on a live GTA run when they were on the show here, but it was just, they're guys like to have fun. I thought it was a great game as well too. So it
was. I was I don't know about you, but it was refreshing to see. I guess you can't really say newer teams because Cam and Baldwin had been there earlier in the season, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see new faces.
Yeah.
It wasn't like an all-fire final. I think that helped a little bit. I wish you could have been there, man. The environment was absolutely ridiculous. Now, I was not there for doubles. I was there for singles. And singles, I would argue, was probably the most electric atmosphere I've ever seen at a cornhole event live. It was when I'm sure you watched it 100 times. When Duncan Clemmer hit that shot, I was sitting behind the board where he threw where he hit the shot. And it was hard. It was kind of hard to see how much space he had. Like, I thought that if he went for an airmail, he was going to probably take at least one of Birchfield's bags. But when he went up and he hit that, and he's a hometown crowd, I mean, I got chills for it. I mean, it's great. Yeah. And the other part is people aren't giving any credit to this thing. Birchfield still won the match.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. If someone hits a shot like that against me, I'm falling apart mentally. Oh, yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
Take me out back, shoot me, I'm done. I mean, you might as well forfeit. But the fact that Trey just brushed it off and then still put it together a win, I mean, to me that just shows how mentally tough he is for such a young dude. And that's one thing I don't think obviously it's not the sexy thing to get Facebook likes and Twitter views and all that stuff. So, but I think it needs to be said, and I was thoroughly impressed that Trey was able to bounce back after that. Because listen, the whole crowd wanted two things to happen: they wanted Duncan Clemmer to win that match, and they wanted Cheyenne Renner to make it to the finals too. Yeah. And they were close to. They all now I don't know what the crowd would have done if it was Clemmer versus Cheyenne. It probably would have been split 50-50, but it was definitely interesting. It was a crazy cool environment.
Well, even watching Birchfield early in the week, because you could see that he was still in pain early in the week. Yeah. And then for him to make the final was like, okay, you have to be the robot now. Because I would have been done. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the boards were getting very, very slow. When we had Trey on as an interview, I asked him the question, what kind of strategy do you go into a match with? And he's like, I literally just try to put every bag in the hole. So any bag he throws short is just a bag that he meant to slide in that he just didn't throw hard enough. So I think that playing with surefires, I don't know how familiar you are with that material, but if the
Yeah.
boards start to get tacky, that stuff, it really does not want to move at all. It really, really grips the board. So I was surprised to see like that he stayed with the same series. I thought he maybe would have switched it up just because the boards were getting so slow. But again, he's the robot.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid just is unfreaking believable.
So yeah, so you talked about being down there because I know I was down back in, was it 2018 down in Turkey. Back
Okay.
that was my first time at a finals or at any kind of a big event, and just the sheer volume of people that were there. Now it might have been a bit different this year, but it's just crazy. Right?
Unbelievable. The ACL headquarters that they have in Rock Hill it's like cornhole paradise. It really is. I mean, just to see a room with 150 sets of boards up is just a beautiful thing. And then when everybody, like I had this really cool picture I took of day 2 in the morning when every board was taken up and people were throwing on it. I mean, it's a spectacle. And then they did such a good job this year of having the 4 streaming courts. I thought that was such a good thing. So it just increased exposure, so people, because it's hard when you only have the one featured court for the ACL digital network, when there's all these other good matches that you want to see. And I was fortunate enough to get to call some of the really good ones. But it's such a cool environment, man. Like I hope they have it there every year because I'm going back next year. If it's at Rock Hill, I'm going back. That's how good it was.
Well, I know. I messaged Trey and I was like, if I'm going to Charlotte in May, which I'm probably am, I'm going to probably be like every day I'm not at the track, I'm going to be down in Rock Hill because it's now a bucket list for me to go to. But that now, I'm not sure how it was like there now because it was a different place where when I was in Cherokee, it was at the hotel and casino there. So it's that thing with that when you talk about the full day. I know when I was there back then, it was like you were up at 7. You had you got your food. You were over at the casino for 8:30 to warm up to start at 9, and then you were back to your hotel room about 1 in the morning to finally get to bed to get up and do like 5 days of that. So I'm not sure if that was the same way this year.
There were some long days. So I think all the pro stuff that we were commentating started at 9:00. So yeah, we were there at 9-ish. I won't say we were there every day on time. But yeah, so it was basically there first thing in the morning. And then basically we didn't leave. I mean, there was days that I think every day, like me and my brother, the first day we grabbed breakfast and then got over there. And then we didn't eat again until like 11 at night.
Mm-hmm.
It was just straight through. We were sitting down commentating. If we weren't commentating, we were going around trying to get content for for the show or for Hard Rack Push, doing videos and all this other stuff. So it was busy. Like I was exhausted by the time like the night came. Like it was a work trip. Don't get me wrong. It was fun. I had a blast and meeting and socializing, but during the day, I mean, we put in a lot of work and it was, listen, I feel fortunate to say that that was kind of that's work. I mean, I love doing it and it's fun and it's, how cool it is. I mean, we do all these interviews, right, with pro players, and we develop relationships over the phone or online. But then when you finally get to meet them in person, it's a really cool feeling.
Oh, exactly, yeah, and to have them come up and talk to you and know you, because I was still basically, I can say I was still a nobody when I was down there, but because we were only like the 6 Canadians that were down there, I had guys like Scott Lane would come up and say, "Hey, you guys are the Canadians." I talk way too much about pitcher out on the balcony at Cherokee and just, have like a 45-minute conversation. He had no clue who I was, but he still wanted to know about cornhole and just, just all the people that would just come up and talk to you just to find out. And you're like, you guys are like the best. Like, what are you talking to me for?
Let me ask you in general. So obviously cornhole's grown immensely, right? Over like even like the last year. You can argue that the pandemic was really good for cornhole with all the online virtual tournament stuff. Mm-hmm. Are you guys seeing is it growing as fast in Canada?
Oh yeah.
Like, are you seeing the numbers growing?
Oh
so
yeah,
150 at that tournament. Is that a good number then for you guys?
They were a little lighter just because the other years they had like some of the guys from New York would come up, but this year they didn't. But still, like our local league, we were getting we were down to like 18, 20 people out. Now we're like coming out of COVID, we were like 24 or 26.
Okay.
This week we had 35 this week.
Nice. Okay.
Right, so it's totally growing. Like we've got a tournament coming up here, the end of the month in Peterborough. If anyone's watching wants to go to Peterborough, they're having the summer. Like freaking people with these long names for tournaments. Come on, the Summer Ender Bender, I think it's called in Peterborough, which it's going to be a full Switch Holio tournament. And,
that's fun.
And they're expecting like 50 to 60 people at this Switch Holio thing. Just it's at a brewery for a day, and
if you're not familiar with Switch Holio, it's probably my favorite format.
Yeah,
you get to play with somebody new. Like most of the time, you get to play with somebody new every single round. I love that format. I love that format because you still get to. It has a singles feel, like the scoring aspect, but you get to play it with somebody different. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah.
Like it's still important for how well you play every single time.
Yeah.
But I love Switch Holio. Switch Holio is one of my favorites.
Exactly. Yeah. And for him at the tournament, Adam, you may kill me. Who cares? Everyone is invited back to Adam's place to party after the tournament.
Done.
I think I'm either bringing my camper or I'm sleeping in his that he's gonna have parked in his driveway.
I heard Adam's even providing the beer for everybody. So
he just might. But yeah, so that's check out Peterborough Cornhole on Facebook for all the details for that there. I believe this is his third one he's had, and it's a blast. There's like freaking there's so many great players like female players in Canada here have just all of a sudden come out of the woodwork like crazy. It's just, and they're all, I think there's a couple in Peterborough, the St. Thomas daughters, I'm not sure their names, but Brian St. Thomas's daughters are like, their first and second weeks out, they're like winning A divisions. It's like,
that's the best part about this game though, is that it doesn't matter if you're male or female. Can you throw a bag 27 to 30 feet in a hole? Doesn't matter and it doesn't even matter what it looks like. You know what I mean? Like, just put it in the hole. And there's so many different bags that are out there now. Because let's say 5-6 years ago, the bag market wasn't what it was. You know what I mean? They would have had to use slide rights. Mm-hmm. They probably wouldn't have maybe been as successful. But because bags are so fast and they're forgiving now for those non-flat throws, I mean, the world is an oyster for so many cornhole players now. So,
exactly,
but it's and like a local blind draw around here. I don't get to go out that much, but my wife and kids were out of town one weekend. So Wednesday night it's a big Cleveland blind draw. So we get like 80 players at Flyers Bar and Grill. So I get up there, we go through, and then afterwards we always run like cash games. Well, we're playing a cash game, and I'm going against one of this guy's wives, and I'd never seen her before, just met her. This girl was a killer. I mean, I was playing outstanding. I mean, we're talking, me and her were going back either 10s or 12s. And I'm not over-exaggerating. And I remember asking her afterwards, I'm like, are you always this good? And she's like, this is the best I've ever played. I'm like, and thank God, she just took second last night with Timmy Jonas at the blind draw. Because I was going to start feeling bad about myself. Like, this girl's a phenomenal player. How has she not won anything yet? I mean, that's how good she was playing. But I love seeing that. I love going to cornhole tournaments, not knowing anything about somebody, and then just watching them play, and then they're just a straight assassin. That's the best.
Well, and that was my favorite thing about this weekend up in Simcoe is there was so many players I'd never seen before, right? So I got a chance to watch because, let's face it, I got in a little bit of heat on the show here because I give my top 5 that people didn't like. Too bad. It's my top 5.
Top 5. Are you talking about top 5 players in the area then?
In Ontario here. And
okay.
And I didn't take into account virtual play. You got to play head to head. Yeah. But seeing some new players come out, like there was an older couple, Roger and Barb, who've just started playing up in Peterborough as well. They're like, oh, we don't play much, and then they get their bag of bags, and it's like. They're pulling Vipers out of their bag. I'm like, yeah, you don't play much. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. You got Vipers, but you don't play much.
Yeah. Correct.
And then she takes 4th in singles, right? Wow. She actually beat out her husband. Her husband finished 5th.
No kidding. Okay.
Right. And it's like, okay, you're and it was just fun to see that many new players. It's just
so obviously I'm assuming Octane is probably the most popular up by you guys, right?
It is.
What other bad companies are popular by you guys?
A lot of people are throwing the fire is starting to come up here.
Okay.
A lot of people are throwing game changers, which if you are in Canada, check out Cornhole Supplies Canada (CSC) on Facebook or anywhere. You can get game changers, fire, Reynolds bags, all at Canadian prices, shipped from Canada. So
Okay.
check out Cornhole Supplies Canada. I don't have a discount code for them yet, hoping soon, but check that out. And I know they're gonna have so much more on their website as well soon. But there's
Okay.
not just octane bags on site. There's fire, Reynolds, and game changers, like I've said. So it's
Because I know you're an Octane guy. So
Yeah.
what series is your go-to with Octane right now?
I think I can say it because I've seen them selling some brand new Octane SS. So it's there's
Okay.
still the same fast side, just a different slow side on it, and it's
Which fast side are we talking about? What
so
other
it's
bag is
almost
that
like
used on?
it's so it's the Apex. It's still
Oh,
the
I
regular
love that
Apex.
stuff.
So
Okay.
that fast side of the Apex with a
Yeah.
different other side, and it's just the other side almost feels like a pillow. It's almost like a satiny pillow. It's just
Okay.
you can just sleep on it. It's just
The
it's
Apex,
nice.
the Apex is one of the best suede bags I've ever thrown. Still to
Yeah,
this day. I don't know what it is. That's still me and my brother and stick and slick type stuff. We'll mess around. That's still one of our go-tos. So I don't know what it is, but I love the slick side. The slick side is one of my favorite fast side material, and it's unique too. Because
yeah,
most of the slick side materials, there's like 2 or 3 of them out there, but that's
yeah.
truly it's a unique material. It's good stuff.
And really, and and you probably got it. It almost feels broken in when you get it,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially
and
with suede, which is
yeah,
so rare.
and I can vouch for it that I've watched Matt make them, sew them, then hand them to me. I will fill it. He will close it up, and it feels broken in. And I'm like, I watched that whole process. You didn't do a thing to it, and it feels broken in. I've got no idea how that happens.
Now, is he coming out? Is he any new series pro stamped for the ACL this
Um,
year?
I believe, yeah, I know the Apex SS. I know he's
Okay.
got a couple other ones. I think he's going to be doing another a big kind of release on it. But
Because say, what else did he have? It was the Kinetic.
so
Was
yeah,
that one of them?
the Kinetics, the
Okay.
Nitros, everything
Okay.
was a pro series except for the hole shots, I believe.
And that's another. That's what That's one of my brother's favorite bags of all
Yeah,
time. Like that's still, I think, in his top 5. Now, is that reverse suede? Is that the reverse suede bag?
I think so.
The whole shots. Okay, I
Trying to
thought
remember.
so.
I think so. I know
Okay.
Matt. I actually drove with Matt to the tournament on the weekend, and he was like, "I kind of wish I would have made that." It's the only bag that he has that's not pro
Okay.
for some reason.
Okay.
But yeah,
It's interesting. I always just find it interesting because I mean, obviously, a lot of the back sales are very regional. I mean, I'm in the home of Reynolds and BG.
yeah,
Both bags are made. I'm like in the middle between them. Like
mhm,
basically, I mean, there's 20 miles one way Reynolds is made, 20 miles the other way BG is made.
yeah.
So it's I that's probably most of what's here. Then the rest of them are like game changers. You'll see a few Vipers. I'm really surprised more kill shots haven't trickled down here, just because it's in Michigan. I mean, 2 hours away. I
Mhm.
thought they'd be more popular, but and then there's a little ultra niche here as well. But 90% of them are BG and Reynolds, and that's
Mhm.
why when Dane and I show up to a tournament and we have our 87 sets of
Yeah.
bags, so we're trying to figure out which ones we want to throw. I always like throwing something different because you never know who's going to be there and they're going to want to know. And I always try to let people know, like, hey, we're going to be at this tournament. If you want to try something before you buy it, let us know. It's probably in my trunk already.
Yeah.
Like I literally right now, I think I have 65 sets of bags in my trunk. Like it's
Well,
just ridiculous.
and that was a fun thing for me to do when Matt was doing his R&D for the new bags coming out. He'd be like, he had a whole bunch of new material in. He'd like make up a set. I'd happen to be throwing up at Octane. He's like, try these. I'm like, okay, you just made them, so sure, I'll try
Yeah.
them. I'll let him know. And he's like, so they're all like numbers. You don't actually know what you're throwing. You're like, okay, I like this number with this number, and it's just that was the fun part.
So let me ask you. So now that you're becoming a bag expert, right? You're getting behind the scenes. I'm sorry. Like I feel like I'm interviewing you sometimes. Since I have
Oh,
it.
that's fine.
I like the behind the scenes stuff
Yeah.
though. Do you feel like what do you feel like affects a bag's performance the most? Do you feel like, because for me personally, now that I've thrown so many bags with similar materials, I feel like it's template and fill that play such a big role in it.
It can be up here. We've got the weather factor, the humidity. This I think is for me is my biggest thing.
Okay.
It's because it's just and that was fun because we had, like I said again on the weekend, we had so many new players that they were getting their first chance of throwing a full day, but then also boards close to a door, boards farthest away from a door, and they're like these back none of the boards are the same. I was like, yeah, because you're getting farther and farther from a door that's being left open, right?
Yeah, I completely get that. Oh yeah,
but that's the fun part about it too, is trying to figure that out.
Oh, I love it. This is one of the few things we get to take into consideration when playing our game.
Which is why you need the 87 sets of bags.
Yes,
because you just 100%. Don't know how that board's going to play.
Well, people make fun of me all the time because they're like, "Oh, you love every bag," because like there's so many talented bag makers out there that are putting out good products. So like, maybe I do love 87 different sets. I mean, obviously I can't throw them all at one time, but I do try to mix it up. Like the 6 sets of bags I have on my bags board, it changes all the time based on what we get sent to us, and I really like. And I mean, I have certain bags that are staples, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I hate saying it out loud, but the cornhole scenario friction, I love that freaking bag. And I always tend to have a set of Pro Advantage. Besides that, I mean, it kind of varies back and forth. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this week's review. We have a company, I don't know if you've heard of before, they're called TC Boards.
I think I have, yeah.
He had the original bag that he was making was the War Chief. And it was a solid bag, a good above, like it was a good like entry level bag. I was impressed with the quality of it when we first reviewed it, like early on in our show. And then he came out with this bag, the Revolution, and I love that. It's basically a better Pro Sniper. If those of you listening are familiar, to me it was a better Pro Sniper. Super hole forgiving. I love the fill, and he was so excited by our review from that. He decided to go all in. And now it's full time. He's going full gig.
He is like ACL approved this year as well too, isn't
he? ACL approved. We are having. We are going to review his all new lineup this week on our show, and we're also there's going to be some special guests on our show that are going to be making a particular announcement. I don't want to ruin it quite yet, but yeah. So I'm excited. It's he's come out with some really good products. And again, I love when the little guys start getting bigger. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's part of the reason we do this, right, Doug? I mean, exactly, it's to spread the knowledge, and we're using our platform to kind of prop up other people. I mean, that's why I think we've both been successful, is because we're not getting anything out of it. I mean, like we're not getting rich doing it. But we like seeing other people become successful.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and that's what I've loved, being able to watch Matt with Octane, because he's just jumped in full body into it. He's got rid of the regular day job. He's now just Octane Cornhole, and it's
that's so cool.
He's just he's there the whole time. Just
I respect the hell out of people that can do that. It takes some serious balls to do that. I don't have the balls like that. I wish. Like, if I did, I would try to make this my full-time gig. I'd try to go from making no money to making maybe a few dollars.
My wife even said, why didn't you go into this with him at the start? I was like, because I didn't have like all the money that he probably does. I'm just a regular guy.
Well, listen, yeah. It's crazy, man. I get it completely. But it's fun. I mean, we like doing it. We get to meet some cool people doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I get to talk to you. Well, I think this is the second or third time I'm on your show. It's cool. I think, like you said, the first time I was on your show, I think I was at work, like in my car.
You were sitting in your car. It was like a car interview. Yeah.
Real early on. Yeah. I remember that. It was like real early on. Like maybe we had like 2 or 3 episodes.
I think, yeah.
And I remember you reached out to me. I thought it was like so cool. I'm like, somebody's actually listening to our show and they wanted me to go on there. It's like, that's cool.
Well, and then it's the friend, like we can banter back and forth, and it's fun because I am just a little guy. I'm just one that no one pays attention to, and it's fun.
Listen, we've always joked, like, there's the 3 OGs, right? We're like the new guys. I mean, you were first, I believe, right? We were right before Dogcast.
I think the Dogcast and I started the same week. Actually, we were kind of talking about that, which is
okay. And then we started. So you guys started like September, October-ish, right?
Yeah.
Right around there. Yeah. And then we started that January. It's like that first week of January is our first episode, and yeah, man. And you guys, but listen, I would say you guys all took us under our wing. I mean, you guys were out there doing your thing, and then me and my brother came stumbling in. We had been trying to do it since like October. I need to get equipment, all this stuff, and we kind of stumbled into it, and then you guys were all gracious enough, and we've kind of all supported each other since then. You know what I mean? We formed like a little brotherhood, and we've had guys like Brews and Reviews. They come out with an episode once every 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
you have all these new shows popping up, which I mean, obviously, like there's enough of a desire for cornhole content that I think there's enough out there that everyone can eat.
Yeah.
As long as everyone is being original and doing their own thing, I think it's all good. Because I know for me, I always want more content. I'm not going to listen to my own podcast I just recorded back. It doesn't make any sense.
I sit on a lawnmower all day at work. I need something to listen to.
Oh yeah.
So it's just so I have to listen to you guys and the Doggos guys every day, just a continuous roll. But it's it's still fun. It's something that I can remember stuff. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I know that I felt it this weekend, again, going back to Simcoe here, commentating games.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You're trying not to be the golf guy just giving the whisper, but you're trying to get it out, but knowing the players can hear you, because I know I got some daggers when guys threw a bag off the board because you're trying not to, but then you hear him get frustrated, him start to maybe put some more colorful language that you're trying to keep off the air, and you got to get louder to match that.
Yeah. It's definitely different. Commentating is way harder than I think people think it is.
Yeah.
Like it's something that you hear and you're like, oh, I can do that. Like I have a podcast. I talk all the time and I can do that. And then you sit behind the mic and you realize, holy crap. We were fortunate enough when we were in Erie that we got to do it for 5 straight hours, right? Mm-hmm. And Trey told us, like, hey, when you sit down, and Trey makes it sound so easy. You know what I mean? Like he's so good at it. Mm-hmm. And we sat down, we did our first segment, and he's like, that's good. And I told him, like, I feel like I'm just telling what they're like, saying what they're watching. Like, no, I know for commentary for me, I don't want the announcer to be like, all right, slip this one in. Oh, there goes another bag in the hole. I didn't want it there to be. And he gave us great advice. He told us the very beginning of the match, that's where you fill it with fluff. Like, that's where you have conversation. You're just trying to, and then when the match starts to get down close to the end, that's when people want to really pay attention to it. And that's when you kind of give more the play-by-play. So we try to follow that model. But it's tough, man. Like when you sit there especially for long periods of time, trying to find stuff to talk about. And I know when we were at the last ACL championships, we were getting some criticism. Some guy made a comment about like, hey, we're not here to listen to your podcast. I'm like, listen, man, we've been here for 4 hours. Yeah. And I have an opportunity to have someone sit down next to me. I'm going to ask them some questions. You guys can use your eyes and watch the match. I mean, you don't need me to keep telling you what's going on. But it's hard, man. I guess I didn't care as much if the players could hear me. I think it's different, though, when I was commentating with the pros who are used to that, though. Mm-hmm. If you're doing just everyday players, I think that could definitely mess some people up, and I think honestly it'd almost be more entertaining.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's because I could tell that because for the players up here, there's only really been, I guess, Jamie Cowan, Scott Sullivan, who play on ESPN where they could hear them, right? So they're kind of. Were
they the ones that were in the World Championships?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they were kind of used to it already, but you get those other people where that you could be getting in their heads, and it's and you're trying not to, but then you end up doing it.
I mean, Trey gets in people's heads all the time.
Yep.
I mean, what else are you going to do? If we want to continue to grow the sport, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to block it out. And I think that's why some people argue for headphones.
Yeah.
Especially on the main stage. I think it's boring when they all wear headphones on the main stage, but I get it now. Like, you don't want to be able to hear all that talk. Like, can you imagine if you're playing a match and Trey Ryder's sitting 5 feet away from you and he's like, all right, I think he's going to try to push. And where he wants to hit it is right here. And be like, oh, that's not what I was thinking. Like, exactly. I was gonna do something way different, but maybe I should do that now.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to figure out, okay, do I want to do this shot or this shot? And he's saying the same thing. So maybe you want to listen to him for him to give his take on what you should be throwing.
Oh, yeah. But yeah. Like, I'm going to look up the screen and be like, hey, you could use your little arrow pen thing and draw where you think I should hit and what I should do. Like, I'm just gonna wait for what, see what Trey says.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, he makes it sound so easy, but you're right. It is a little bit awkward knowing that they can hear you a little bit. But I think for the most part, at least in my experience, they've done a pretty decent job of blocking it out for the most part.
Now I've asked for like give me like a little glass enclosure or something so I can talk, but it's whatever. It's fun, and hey, it's what else can you do? Just when you can go drink beer and play cornhole and just talk.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here, my biggest recommendation, Doug, is go have like 6 more beers, and then you really won't care at all what people say.
Yeah.
Matter.
I can be like that even without the beer.
There you go.
But it's it is what it is. But
fair enough.
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming on for doing this here. But just want to give one last plug to the sponsors here. Octane Cornhole, octanecornhole.com. Discount code CornDoug gets you 10% off there. Then head over to myearfund.com. CornDoug there will get you 20% off your earbuds. And who doesn't need a Bluetooth speaker that's waterproof? Throw it in your pool. It'll still play. JC Cornhole, get your boards from Jamie. Mention me. You may get a discount. He may charge you more. It all depends on his mood that day. And if you're in Alberta, check out Sierra Home Inspections. Talk to Darren in Sherwood Park. Let him know that you heard on the show and you want to get your home checked out for him, because he does give a portion to a hospice in the Edmonton area for kids with cancer, which is, I think, a fantastic thing that he does. So any last words from you, Sean?
Nothing. I appreciate you having me on, man. And listen, over here we're trying to. And we're gonna talk off air about this, but we're trying to start this thing. It's called Hard Drag Push, right? It started off as a joke between us and the Dogcast. It was something I've been wanting to start for a long time, and we call it the Hard Drag Push Network, because what we're trying to do is bring in a network of talented individuals in the cornhole community, and we're basically just trying to make it like a one-stop shop for cornhole content. So we're always looking so please check it out. Give us your feedback. We have pretty thick skin. We have all the podcasts hosted on there. We post articles. There's some videos, but if anyone's ever interested on writing stuff, I mean, we definitely need some Canadian coverage on the website. So maybe we'll have to talk to CornDoug about hopping on. We can always use some more OGs on the website. But yeah, we put a lot of time and effort into it. But so any visit we greatly appreciate.
Well, exactly. And with Canadian Cornhole content, make sure, as I said before, coming up the end of the month here, August, I want to say 28th, could be 29th, I'm not sure. Whatever that Saturday is, up in Peterborough, their Summer Ender Bender, whatever the hell Adam's calling it. You can go and stay at his place afterwards.
Free beer.
Check that out. And then September 11th, KW Cornhole gets back into our first tournament, going back to the St. Clements for the St. Clements Cornhole Cup, which should be a great time. We're going full outdoors. We're actually going from the pavilion onto a ball field this year. So we'll see how that goes. But again, Sean, thanks for coming on. And for everyone else, watch out for those players throwing gas, because they might just kick your ass.